Here we go again. Here we go again. Yes, once again, we have the dreaded credit card companies. The good old payment processing companies have shut down yet another website. Thank you, credit card companies, for saving the world from the dreaded evil Japanese comics. But yes, for those that have missed it, the mangaka behind Love Hina, he has a website called Manga Library Z. And yes, he made a tweet today announcing that he's unfortunately going to have to shut down this website. Now, this website pretty much kind of is focused on seemingly a lot of older titles and whatnot, but they do just basically digital distribution of a lot of different mangas. And yes, they got notified by payment processing companies to change some stuff for shutdown. And it looks like he has unfortunately had to choose to do that. He has mentioned the idea that he can't even, there's the option of going to different types of Bitcoins and whatnot, but those services would not be able to keep them alive. A lot of their ability to keep afloat is coming from people doing, different subscriptions and whatnot. And yes, these payment processing companies have come down upon them, and so they've decided to stop. Now, there's a lot of context behind this. There is, yes, the surface level is bad credit card companies, how terrible, yet another sign of this. But I want to make it perfectly clear. There's a lot behind this whole situation that I think people need to be aware of to get the bigger, broader picture of what's going on. There's a lot of speculation on what's actually going on in the background behind this company that could be the actual cause to it. And I also want to leave on a positive note, getting into who Akamatsu is. Yes, the mangaka behind Love Hina, this individual right here. There's a lot of promise behind this whole situation because, as I've noted before with past videos about this whole credit card company issue that's happening, there's a lot of groups that are actually fighting back. They're actually going to these Visa services, MasterCard services, and trying to find out where the root of this is. There's a lot of work that's happening in the UN and whatnot that they're trying to make sure there's these protections with what they do with their own freedom of expression. There's actually a big movement within the government of Japan to try to stop this stuff. And people like Akamatsu are actually kind of spearheading this stuff. So we're going to get into each bit of it. I'm going to hit each one by one. So hopefully people watching this video have some patience here to get the full context. But let's dive into it. First of all, who is Akamatsu? Like I said, he's the one behind Love Hina, Negima, very famous mangaka. Had a lot of success in the past. But additionally, like I said before, this is a guy that's actually in the government. He's actually gotten to the diet and whatnot, and he's really working really heavily on different things such as freedom of expression, protections against, freedom of expression, all that kind of stuff, to ensure that a lot of things around their use of art and whatnot is actually protected. Now, like I said, he made a post talking about the fact that his website that he has, Manga Z, is actually being shut down. Let's actually look into the post itself. On the website itself, they said, "We regret to inform you that Manga Library Z has made the difficult decision to cease its internet distribution services for electronic books, as previously announced on November 5th. Manga Library Z has been a platform where readers could once again enjoy rare, out-of-print manga titles that have not yet been digitized, and it is continuously providing advertising revenue to its creators for over a decade. However, in recent years, we have faced increasing challenges in terms of payment services, such as credit card companies. 14 years ago, when manga artist Ken Akamatsu launched the predecessor to the service, J-Comic, electronic books were not as common, and there were only a handful of services where people could read manga online. In that context, J-Comic could be said to be the pioneer in free electronic book services that allowed anyone to read manga. For nearly 14 years, even as a service name changed to Manga Library Z, all of our staff are grateful for the long-standing support from creators and users alike. At the time, we feel a deep sense of responsibility for having operated this service while carrying the hopes of so many people. We are truly sorry that we have to reach the point where we must shut down the site." As announced on October 29th, we received a notification from our payment processing company last month stating that we were forced to terminate all payment service contracts at the end of October. Although we held urgent discussions with the payment processing company, this decision was made by the credit card company, and unfortunately, there is nothing our company could do to reverse this situation. We have been working day and night to urgently calculate our finances and explore alternative options to keep the site running, but we have come to the conclusion that continuing to operate the site without being able to provide returns to creators would ultimately betray the trust of both creators and users. Therefore, we made the difficult decision to shut down the site. We apologize for having to make this decision. While the site itself is currently scheduled to be shut down on November 26th, J Comic Terrace Company, which operates Manga Library Z, is also involved in a wholesale business that provides work to other stores. We plan to focus on wholesale business going forward and continue to provide returns to participating creators. However, the site will not be completely terminated. We will continue to explore ways to restart the site in the future in consultation with the relevant parties. Although it's still a narrow path, we will also consider transitioning to a nonprofit organization or crowdfunding. We hope to be able to deliver manga to you all again someday. To all creators, users, and those who have supported the cooperation with us, thank you very much for the past 14 years. The staff of J Comic Terrace. Super, super tragic stuff. Now, that's not it. That's not it. That's the website. That's the official statement on their website saying they have to shut it down. It does look like they at least want to look at some sort of option in order to do maybe crowdsourced, having people support the site to keep it up, rather than do typically with like payments and whatnot to the site directly, thus getting around a lot of the, again, payment processing companies, doing some way around that rather than it being directly to the stuff that typically they are coming at them for. Yes, typically with a lot of these issues with these credit card companies coming after them, it's because there's something on the site that is questionable. Yes, in the past it's typically been, forced interaction between two characters. Yes, unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's going to be a lot of stuff that's depicting younger looking characters, stuff like that. That's the stuff they're going against. Now, to make it perfectly clear, because I always have to put this caveat here, because, people have to throw the extremes at you and say you're defending this and it's horrific. I am the type of person that I believe in a freedom of expression, and that is having zero restrictions, unless it's the actual depiction of real people. If it is drawn, if it is art, I don't believe there should be any restriction. Because why? Because I feel personally that yes, there's a lot of it that I don't want to personally look at. I don't want to look at it. But I'm also the type of person that I believe once you crack open that door, who sets the boundaries? How far does that door keep open? Once it opens, it can never be shut, and it will get wider and wider. And they're going to always have people looking over artists' shoulders, constantly saying, how old is that? That looks like this age. That looks like that's being forced. That looks like that's not consenting. And they're constantly going to be opening that door wider and wider to the point where there's no freedom of expression. I believe that should be all freedom, and people choose what they're going to shun and not look at or just not be involved with. Now, with that said, let's get into the greater details here because, yes, Akamatsu actually, in his post, gets into better details on his tweet. Most of this early stuff is pretty much him repeating the same stuff, that he's going to be doing this, that it's going to be shut down. The primary source of funding for the server costs and other operating expenses was the subscription fees from our premium members. Again, this is direct payment, which is pretty much what's going to be stopped due to these restrictions. The immediate cause of the site of the shutdown is a notification from our payment processing company to terminate all payment services, including not only credit card payments, but also other payment methods, all credit cards, including JCB, which I think this is typically what people are always kind of pointing to do, is to use JCB, which again does not get around the fact that it will eventually go to major companies like Visa and MasterCard. JCB unfortunately doesn't get around that. Suddenly became unusable. And other payment methods, such as Bitcash, which is going to be your cryptocurrencies, are also disabled. Moreover, and again, this is another issue right here, is because a lot of people will say go to Bitcoin and whatnot, but there needs to be an exchange that happens at some point, and a lot of that stuff just won't be allowed. Eventually, it will get to those companies. They will find out, and they will stop it. For example, so the company themselves, even if they do have some sort of cryptocurrency on their website to use as payment, people will pay for that stuff with cryptocurrency. Yay. But the company needs to pay their staff. How are they going to do that? They have to exchange it for Japanese yen. And once they do that, the company then gets contacted. They want to make this exchange, and they're still selling this bad stuff, so they still get stopped by those companies. It still comes down to an exchange of some sort through these companies in order to put it into cash that actually expends for their uses for their company. Moreover, even payments for the previous month are withheld. That's bad. That's wrong. Resulting in a complete halt of premium membership fees for that period and going forward. This has left us unable to cover even the costs of our servers. So this is going to have to come out straight out their own pocket. They're going to go in a debt there. After careful consideration by the Manga Library Z management team, we have concluded that operating solely on BitCash revenue is not feasible. Even if we found a replacement payment processing company, there's a risk of the same thing happening again. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing there. Again, it's always going to eventually get down to that. And again, even if they find another company to be a bank or whatever, people will buy using credit card companies. They will buy using their MasterCard, their Visa, and it still ends up coming to them, and it's something they'll block. We do not want to resort to removing portions of our content to stay afloat. This is a nice stance. This sucks, but this is a nice stance. We don't want to just sanitize our website and keep it up. We don't want to do that. We're wanting to provide this service, and we don't want to limit what we put on that service just to fit what they want us to fit. Based on these considerations, we have made the difficult decision to shut down the site. We sincerely apologize for the extreme short-term time frame between the notification and the payment withholding, which has forced us in a position of capitulating to the demands of the payment service provider. Sucks. However, here's where we get into some stuff that can actually be a positive. Through this experience, we have obtained accurate information that only a party directly involved in such a situation could have, such as the grounds on which the payment service termination was declared, the extent of the penalties imposed and their duration, what specific countermeasures could have been taken. Now, when I read this part right here, I think of two different things here. This could be mainly them saying, look, we figured out what they allow and don't allow, and thus going forward, we can actually create something new with those restrictions in mind. We can bend the knee and create something new and avoid these issues going forward. But again, like I said before, this is who we're talking about here. This is who's talking about this stuff. This is somebody that is actually involved in Japanese politics. This is a guy that's in the national diet. He's actually involved with these individuals about freedom of expression and artwork and whatnot to prevent censorship. We're talking about some guy right here that could possibly get into contact with individuals such as Yamada here, which again, for those that missed this, Yamada, quite a while back, I think this was back in August, he actually went and visited Visa themselves. He is a member of the government as well, and he was trying to find out from Visa who is causing these restrictions, who is canceling the stuff with these companies. You guys are interfering with our companies in our nation. What are you doing? Who is putting these things in place? And yes, unfortunately with the situation right here, they went there, they sat down with them, they said, who's doing this? Visa said, ain't us. That's basically what it came down to. It came down to them saying, it ain't us. We're not doing it. So they're basically trying to find out who's causing this stuff. Where is this happening? Who's making these calls? Who's phoning up these companies and saying, stop processing payments for them? Because again, I think what the biggest massive point here recently was Nico Nico. Nico Nico was having problems with them. And Nico Nico is huge. It's a big company. It's nowhere near as big as something like YouTube, obviously, but it's basically their YouTube. It's a very popular company. So they have to find out what's happening here. These Japanese companies or these government officials are kind of going, hey, you're affecting our economy. What are you doing? These things are freedom. These things are in our laws as freedom of expression. You're not allowed to be coming here and messing with it. What are you doing? And I think that, yes, he could probably get involved with this whole situation and possibly do something. And maybe this statement here is a sign that they've seen how they're working and they can possibly take countermeasures. With this information, we believe we can conduct a more thorough investigation and hearings. Right there. Gives me the indication that he's going to be taking action. That's huge. That is a massive plus. That is a positive here coming out of this whole situation. In the past, when Love Hina was banned from Apple's ebook app and later reinstated, that experience has been frequently cited as a concrete example of our efforts to protect freedom of expression, and we have found it to be quite effective. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Fight back. Take it to the government. Take it all the way to the government. This is how this stuff is going to stop. The only way they're going to stop this crap from happening is they have to take it to their government and push back at these companies. And again, like I've always been saying, they need to make themselves a lot more self-sufficient. They need to do their own payment processings. They need to pull this stuff out from underneath these massive companies. MasterCard and Visa, it's just a nasty thing to be reliant on. I don't know the Difficulties that would be involved with them actually getting around this stuff, but they have to do something soon. In recent years, payment service providers have been imposing unprecedented stringent conditions and penalties. If we allow this to continue, it will undoubtedly become a significant problem for not only ebook industry, but also the entire Japanese content industry. Yes. For now, a lot of our issues that we've been talking about, at least for anime fans and manga fans and just, yes, spicy art on certain websites, we've always been kind of talking about this issue over and over again, is that these credit card companies are coming down on digital distribution. When eventually is it going to start happening in their brick and mortars? When those shops that they have in Japan that are just full of R18 stuff, they have those massive walls full of just everything. When eventually it's going to happen when they go up to that counter and they go to buy something and they can't do it? It's eventually going to affect their entire economy. They have to put a stop to this. I think this is like a question mark that I even had for myself, was like, would the Japanese diet ever do something? Would they ever get politically involved with the situation? Because the issue that comes up is who's going to stand in those government meetings and actually stand up there and say, they're stopping us from selling this. Who's going to die on that cross? Because what'll be up on that site, what'll be up on that wall is typically going to be, yes, the depiction of young-looking characters. The depiction of, yes, a person forcing themselves upon another person. Yes, things that are going to be questionable. Things that are going to be like, wow, if your mother's seen that, they would be ashamed that you're looking at that. Yes, gory stuff, violent stuff, all this stuff that is going to be seen from somebody's perspective as, well, that's going to be no loss, right? But again, there is the main key thing there. You can't just say that. You can't just say, well, I don't want to look at that, so you might as well remove it. It's no loss to me. That is a bad thing to think, because again, eventually it's going to keep going further. That door is going to keep getting bigger, wider, 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 until something you enjoy is suddenly too much. Whatever you enjoy is too far. Never let that door open. Instead, allow anything as long as it's not harming actual real people. Allow anything, and then choose not to touch it. Choose not to let your children have it. Choose to keep that distance. Don't force it upon other people. Anyways, as a party that has been forced to close due to such actions, we will strive to develop more effective countermeasures. We kindly request your continued support. Way too cool. I love this last bit right here. This basically says, yes, we had to stop this for now because we don't have money and we have no way of taking those transactions. We have to shut it down. But we're not taking it lying down. We're going to push back. Now, yes, I did mention earlier, there may be another reason behind all this stuff that could be the cause of this issue. I don't know if this is true. This part right here is literally what Akamatsu has said. And yes, Akamatsu is heading this company. And this is the decision he made with management, that they're going to shut this down and that he's going to take action. This is an actual statement from him. This is all true. Well, this is translated with machine translation, but this is his statement. Speculation time. This is purely speculation. As I was kind of looking around in his post itself, I eventually came across somebody pointing out something that could be the cause of the credit card companies pulling, which is this statement right here from this individual pointing out that, yes, technically, they were bought by another parent company a while back, and they do sell very realistic depictions of AI young characters in inappropriate content. And that company could possibly have actually had the payment processing companies pulling out from them, and as a parent company over Manga Z could have pulled from them as well. Now again, that's completely counter to what he's stating in his post. So this is a contradiction. So this is where I'm saying this is speculation. Akamatsu is saying they're saying they cut payment processings from them, and that Manga Z is cutting down from them, and that he is taking countermeasures going forward for them. Not that their parent company is having the payment processing pulling out, that this person is claiming might be the cause. But it is something to keep in mind. This could be not necessarily payment processing companies going after Manga Z, but actually coming after their parent company, who is selling, yes, stuff that is depicting young characters that look very realistic, that is being done by AI. Again, that's not proven. I don't have proof for that other than this post that I have verified myself. I looked into their parent company. I found the name of their companies. I searched this on Amazon. I found this stuff on Amazon. It is actually on amazon.co.jp. This stuff is there. And it is, yes, the name of their company is right here. This is the name of their company, or at least one of the branches under that parent company. This is a real company. Whether that's actually the cause, I don't know. But, and even then, yes, I know, even then, it is still a gray area. But AI art making realistic depiction of people is that kind of really, that's a rough place that is even difficult for me to even get into. But it is possibly the cause here. It could be not Manga Z themselves specifically, even though he is claiming that. Either way, I think the big takeaway from this whole situation is key points here. One, yes, payment companies once again shutting down companies in Japan. I hate it. I really do hate, especially when it comes to things that are art. This is just literally manga and whatnot. This is not real people. This is manga. This is art. This is drawn stuff. This is people's creation. This is their freedom of expression. And I believe, again, if it is created stuff and it's not the actual use of real people, no real people are involved with it, I think that stuff should be free to be done. I think any kind of restrictions on freedom of expression and freedom of speech is really wrong. And again, keeping that door open, no matter if you don't like this content or not, is a bad thing. The second key part is, yes, the involvement of Akamatsu himself, who is involved in politics and whatnot, that is looking to actually fight back. I think this could be a massive deal here. This could be a great thing. Hopefully he's working with other members of, the political parties and whatnot, like Yamada here, hopefully working against these companies to get answers. Where is this coming from? Where is it starting and whatnot? And put a stop to this stuff. Because again, me personally, even having people send me this link to this tweet and saying, what do you think about this? It's like, it's the same thing again. But there's a deeper thing here. This is finally these people finally saying, stop. Get out of our country. Get out of our art. You are not our politicians. You cannot supersede our policies, our laws, and our restrictions, and yes, our own freedoms. That's the difficulty there. Anyways, thought I'd get on here and give you guys a fuller perspective here. It's kind of one of those situations where I see this one post and then I start digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and this is like a big, massive can of worms. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and found this video informative. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below there. And also, make sure to share this out with your friends to get a full context to people so they can get a full perspective on what's happening here. And yeah, give this guy your support. Give him a like or whatever. Find him on Twitter. Again, it's Ken Akamatsu, at Ken Akamatsu. You can look him up on Mal, find his page, and just click his little link for his Twitter if you can't get it from my saying his name. But support these people. Tell them this is stuff that you want, because I think that they need that support to fight back against these companies' skin, because eventually they can take away a lot of those freedoms, and then we'll lose a lot of the art that we enjoy. Even if it's not stuff that you enjoy. Again, overall, just putting those restrictions on there, eventually a lot of this stuff is going to go away. And it's a really bad state for us to get into. But additionally, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe before you leave. If you like this content, you want to support channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, y'all take care.